All right, today's guest is a super strong mom of three and a self described lover of dessert. So, welcome to 5 Minutes with Lucy. How's it going, Lucy?
Good, good. Thanks for having me today, guys.
So, I said that because your Instagram username is Lucy Loves Dessert. So, I got to know what is the backstory behind that?
I picked the name a long time ago and never changed it. And
Uh
I
huh.
kind of, it used to be when you posted a lot of food on Instagram, so there was a lot of dessert posting. I love to bake and I do love dessert. So,
That's
so that's
awesome.
it.
I had a feeling it was something like that. Have you ever like dabbled in professional baking or you just do it for yourself?
No, I like doing it for fun. A few times my husband's been like, "You should try to sell there." But I just like to do things for fun. I don't want to make a business out of it or anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Add some extra stress to it if you did something like
yeah.
that. Well, you work with our coach Haley, and she has nothing but amazing things to say about you. So we just kind of want to dive into your story, learn more about you in this episode. So tell us a little bit about where you are, what you do for work, and your family.
Yeah, so I'm located in central Connecticut, and I'm a director of finance for a small marketing agency. So I work remotely now and have for the last few years, but my background is in accounting and finance, and I've done a lot of like small business bookkeeping and CFO
Mm,
type support. So that's like a lot of what I've done for the past 10 years. I have three kids. They're elementary school age and then a toddler. And I live here with my husband as well. And yeah, we have a pretty uneventful existence here.
I imagine with the full time job and the stress of that and three little kids running around, one of them being a toddler, you just have all kinds of spare time on your
Yeah.
hands, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a busy few years, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I'm a high energy person, so it suits me well.
Nice.
That's awesome. Why don't we dig into a little bit of like before you came to Digital Barbell? Tell us a little bit about your history with exercise training, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll get into nutrition after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have sort of like my fitness eras, if you will, um, so I was a gymnast growing up, so I was just kind of in shape by virtue of that. I was never good, but I did do competitive gymnastics. So the conditioning in that is pretty intense.
Hmm.
So I did that up until about 10th grade, and then I decided I just didn't want to spend that much time in the gym anymore. And I did nothing after that for the remainder of high school and college. So um, I think during that time, anytime I tried something, I thought I had to run. I
Hmm.
thought like to be in shape, you had to be a runner. And I don't like to say I'm not a runner because I guess I probably could be a runner. I am not a natural runner. I think people who lift generally aren't the best runners. They tend to not go hand in hand. So every time I tried, I hated it, wasn't very good at it, and I would give up very quickly. So I made it through college and afterwards, and then finally, like I got my first desk job. I'm sitting there, doing the grind, and I realized I kind of had to do something. So that was kind of then the beginning of my gym and CrossFit era. So I sort of bounced between the two for probably 5, 6 years, mostly depending on whether or not I made enough money to afford to do CrossFit. During that time, if I went to a gym, I did a lot of like group fitness, which I do enjoy. I went to grad school, and while I was in grad school, I also got my yoga teacher training, and I did,
Oh,
or like
cool.
whatever certification that is, and I did
Hmm.
a Group X certification too. So I taught some classes. I actually hated teaching. I give you guys a lot of props. I was a terrible coach. I did not enjoy that part of it. Went back to just doing. But I did, I think I found CrossFit and really enjoyed the style of the workouts, the community that came with it, all of those things.
Yeah.
So I did that really up until I had my first baby. I worked out through my whole first pregnancy. And then like the reality of having my schedule based on a kid instead of myself hit me, and I had a really good time getting back to it. So then it was sort of like my home fitness era. So I've tried a lot of different home fitness things. I did like the sweat apps. I've done like pretty much every app that there was. And I was doing street parking, which is kind of like a home
Hmm.
CrossFit.
Hmm.
None of it was really ever a good fit for me. Or I didn't love any of it. And then so I would like be inconsistent. I do it sometimes, do it
Yeah.
not. Whatever. And then I found Starting Strength. So I just like had the book. Like I just,
The
Yeah.
big blue book.
I don't, there
Yeah.
might be an app that went with it. I don't remember, but it was just like
There wasn't.
No, there's no
the
app.
same list every week with the book. Like that was kind of
Uh-huh.
the deal. And I had a friend work out in my basement with me. And I loved that. So that was really my first time that I did like more like progressive overload lifting and not just like random lifting at CrossFit. Um, so but then during COVID hit and somehow I just like I didn't work out one day and then 2 years
Just
went
one
by.
day.
So
Did you say
so
2 years went? What,
anyway,
you didn't work out one day and 2 years went by?
two
Is that what you
years went
said?
by. I don't know how that happened, but it did. I got pregnant in there too. I had a baby, so maybe that was part of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, then I had been following Digital Barbell for a while, and you guys posted about a one of the training programs, and I signed up for that, and I've been doing this for about a year, and I love it.
You're in your digital barbell era.
I'm a Digital Barbell era. It's like a
Love it.
perfect fit.
I mean, honestly, like your journey is not all that different from ours, to
Yeah.
be truthful. We didn't like do a lot of the different apps out there, but we kind of
Like
farted
the
around with a
boot
bunch of
camps and the
weird
group
stuff,
classes. Yeah.
and then found
CrossFit,
starting
starting
strength.
strength.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
like I
pretty
had
cool.
my what's the one where you like stepped up on a block? Like it was kind of like a aerobic league. You know what I'm talking about? There was like a
That kind of sounds like
it might
jazzercise
have
to
been
me.
step. It might have been called step. I
Step,
don't know. I had
yeah.
a lot of eras.
Yeah.
Your
I
step
had
era.
that step class and that was a disaster. They're so hard to follow. It's
I'm not. I
like
never did Zumba. I'm not coordinated enough or something like that. So that was like the only thing I didn't do.
Man, that's hilarious. Okay, so we'll come back to training a little bit, but what about like nutrition and dieting and just that whole thing that comes along with wanting to
Uh,
quote get in shape?
yeah. So similarly, like when I stopped doing gymnastics, I ended up gaining a lot of weight. Like you can eat a lot more pasta and desserts when you're working out 10 hours a week. So in high school, I sort of had that experience of like going on my first diet.
Mm,
And that was sort of, started off sort of a decade long confused relationship with nutrition, let's say, where I kind of went from, um, I'd gain weight, I'd lose it in an unhealthy way, I'd not keep it off, I'd not work out consistently. Just didn't, I counted calories, but didn't have a really good understanding of like some of the more fundamentals of nutrition. So like I'd be counting calories, but eating like mixed nuts for a snack. I
yeah,
always love your guys' content because I feel like a lot of it lands with the experiences I've had and the way that I used to look at things or did things. So anyway, I realized when I started that same first job sitting at a desk that like something had to change. And that was the era of food blogs and just like blogs in general.
hmm
hmm
So I followed a few like health and fitness blogs and I saw all these people like just living a more balanced lifestyle. And I was the kind of person who thought like, oh, it couldn't be me. Like I can't, I'm different. It wouldn't work for me. And I started to realize like, maybe it would. Like, maybe there's something to this like consistent whole foods, whatever, where like they're not overly focused on every single thing they eat. They're just
hmm
consistent and
hmm
they're so I started trying to like tailor some of my nutrition at that time. And for like the first time in my life, I lost weight slowly. For starters, I had never lost it slowly before that. I lost it slowly, and I just never gained it. Like I lived my lifestyle. It was
yeah,
regular. I got to eat donuts when I wanted to eat them on the weekend, occasionally, and I had like a balanced life. So that was kind of like my first. Like I started to learn a lot more about how to fuel my body and how to fuel it properly for the workouts I was doing,
yeah.
and that sort of thing.
How long ago
So
was that?
that was in my CrossFit gym era.
Okay,
That was probably in like 2012 to like 2020. So
yeah,
Okay.
even throughout my first two pregnancies, I managed to kind of like I gained a little weight, but not anything crazy, and it kind of went back to normal after I had the baby and those sorts of things. But somehow between that second and third one, just lost a lot of my consistent habits.
hmm
Um, and started like treating myself a lot more without realizing it was happening. It was a very slow roll into treating myself, like boiling a frog or whatever they.
yeah. Good analogy.
So, so eventually last year or like in 2023, kind of hit a tipping point of like, all right, not a great. I don't have a lot. I can keep living this way and making excuses, but like, I think it's time to face the music. So on my own, I started, kind of going back to some of the basics and just trying to make better priorities. And then it has really helped a ton to do one-on-one nutrition coaching with Haley.
Hmm.
And that's not even just a digital barbell plug. It's been great to have that consistency. And I'd gained about 20, 25 pounds from 2020 to 2023, and I've now lost all of it over the last year. So
That's
That
fantastic.
is.
that's
What
where we're
are
at nutrition wise.
what are some of the things on nutrition that you and Haley focus on? Like, if you think about living that balanced lifestyle where you're not obsessed about things, but you don't have to worry about gaining weight back or being focused on dieting all the time, like, what are the main things you focus on to make that happen?
Yeah, so I can eat a lot of food. So like I'm a big eater. Like I'm not like people who are like, "Oh, I started eating 1,600 calories and it was so much food I couldn't get it down." Like that. Not me.
You sound
I've
like
never
Blakely.
I'm a big eater. And so for me, it's a lot of the little, and I eat relatively like healthy, clean. I don't know what you want to call it, but like I cook a lot. I grew up in a
Real
family that
food.
made things from scratch. I cook real food. It's important to me. It's important to me to feed my family that way. So like I eat a lot of fruit and vegetables. I eat a lot of meat and eggs and um yeah, just whole real foods are kind of like a staple of my diet. I don't do a ton of like powders and snacks
Hmm.
and whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm always like I'm one of those people who's like, well, I'm eating healthy, so it's okay. But A, I eat too much. I can eat too much of pretty much pretty much anything.
Just portions.
and, and B, I'm a big snacker. So a lot of what Haley and I have worked on is finding things that work for me for snacking. Um, because I like the little bite, which the bites licks and tastes,
Hmm.
the BLTs, I'm like did not realize I was eating, 700 calories of just like
Yeah.
little here and there.
Easy to do.
So just focusing on that, and even like if I don't want to count, I have been tracking recently. But if I don't want to, um, just like almost like limiting the time. Like I eat breakfast, I eat lunch, I eat dinner,
Hmm.
making sure those are high. I have a lot of high volume foods, so we focused on like some things like adding potatoes, adding in fiber, those types of things, and then just like not eating outside of kind of my like
Yeah.
planned meals has been really really helpful for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I just want to point out that I think there's a lot of people don't know what nutrition coaching is, and we don't know what it's like to work with another company really. But I think a lot of people think that nutrition coaching is just somebody on the company you hire side just types in your stats into a calculator, gets a bunch of numbers, sends them to you, and then every week says how well did you hit your numbers. But what you just described there is like working with somebody who looks at your lifestyle, looks at the things that you struggle with, and like custom tailors an approach for what you need help with, and then holds you accountable
Mhm.
to those things. Is
Yeah,
that
I think I was a little apprehensive to do it because again, I've like maintained a healthy body weight most of my adult life, and I do eat a lot of like, so I'm kind of like, well, what am I gonna like? But I wasn't doing it on my own, so so I think it's just that like extra support and push to yeah look at my life and like what
Mhm.
actually works for me, and then kind of create some accountability around those things. I think even like kind of being a person who always like I make a lot from scratch. I like to cook, all those things that's not like super conducive to a full-time working mom of three. So like even like accepting that like I have to make some convenient sacrifices that are actually better for my health long term because like, eating a chicken strip is not going to be maybe better than eating, a peanut butter and jelly, even though
right?
it's like, yeah, eating one of those like real good chicken strips or whatever is
Yeah,
like a better option than eating a peanut butter and jelly if I don't have time to make something, whatever. So
Mhm.
like
right.
kind of coming
Trade-offs.
up with some of those like trade-offs or like coming up with some easy, convenient meals like even oatmeal or things that just like I can have that are going to be um keep you from falling back into like, oh, well, let me just swing through
Yep. Where's the
McDonald's
mixed nuts?
Yeah.
grab 800 handfuls of those nuts.
Everybody remembers the day they found out that nuts are a terrible source of protein.
I just don't know how they've gotten a grip on the industry for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in cahoots with the granola industry. They're just
They
working
really are.
together.
Like this is a healthy diet food. Like why was I eating 1,200 calories and including nuts in those 1,200 calories?
Yeah. And non fat frozen yogurt. It's non fat. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump back over to the training side. Now you work out at home. You got a sweet little setup there at home. What have you found kind of different about the digital barbell trademark training method? What do you like about it, and what kind of results have you gotten since you've been consistent working with us for so long now?
Yeah. Yeah, so I had invested in the home gym a long time ago, and turns out investing in the home gym does not mean you're going to use it. So there has to be more to it than that. So like I said, I tried a lot of different things, and I think what I didn't like about like starting strength or like any traditional weightlifting program is there's no variety really. Like you just keep doing the same thing forever. Like you're just like, I do squats on, whatever. My husband worked out that way where he does like his 4 lifts and like the same accessory work. That's like a little too boring for me. But it was my first like step into strength training and I really liked it and like it conceptually. Whereas like I always felt like CrossFit, it's a little too random. Like you're just kind of doing like different things. And if you're not there on the same days, you might even miss like certain things that would be like progressive training. And I was so sore all the time. Like I hated that. That was one of the things I didn't like about street parking. I don't know if I'm allowed to say other brands.
I don't think they listen to our podcast. It's okay.
But it was like I'd be so sore. And when you have like a lot of little kids being like so sore that you can't do around, it's really unappealing. Like I would be like, I do that workout because like I can't do 40 thrusters and like be able to use my arms for the next.
Yeah, you're like, I can't pick up my babies now.
I don't really remember how I found Digital Barbell. You must have really good marketing because I know it was on Instagram.
We don't have any marketing.
We don't have any paid marketing.
But somehow I found you on Instagram and I started following you and I followed for a long time before I actually did like joined. But kind of everything you ever said really resonated in terms of like it's that progressive overload training that like I do really like. But you mix in like the accessory training is different, the my finishers are always different, and like so it's enough variety, but with the underlying consistency that like it's really just been a perfect fit for me. Everything else it would feel like either it was like 6 days a week and I don't work out 6 days a week. So it like you felt like you were behind a program if you couldn't keep up with 6 days a week. Or B, it was just too all over the place. Or, I did it's the same 4 workouts again the next week and like that love. So anyway, I think it's been like exactly a perfect balance for me. And like theoretically, I guess I could come up with my own programming, but I'm not gonna, and it's not gonna be as good. So it's totally worth it for me to just go in my basement, have the workout, and even if I like don't feel like it, like it's there, and I just have to start. It takes a lot of the thinking out of like finding a workout, finding it online, creating a plan that like I'm an accountant, I'm not qualified to do it anyway.
We're gonna put her video just up on our homepage. You're gonna be like the spokesperson now for this. It's like perfect.
And there's somebody on the
there's been such good alignment in just everything I've ever seen. Like when I was looking at your page and your Instagram, everything, and I was like, all right, let me give this a try.
I love it.
I gotta get serious about doing something.
And Haley knows if you don't do your workout too. Yeah. So you got somebody kind of looking over your shoulder.
You get the accountability piece. Even without that, I think just the programming I would have enjoyed without a trainer too. But I'm glad that I am glad that I ended up making that choice and working with Haley. I think it's been really helpful.
When we told Haley we were doing this interview with you this morning, she pulled up some of your recent...
she was big time bragging on you.
Back when you guys tested maxes earlier this year. Do you know your numbers, or I have them right here if you want me to read off
what some of these are? No, I don't remember them. I won't be able to recall them very
easily. Was like, I think that she might be the strongest female client we have. She was...
I've got your deadlift here at 265.
Yeah, that was hard.
That's so strong.
A squat at 200. A bench at 125, an overhead press at 90, and 17 unbroken push-ups from your toes.
That's impressive.
I am the most proud of the bench and the push-ups because those are like, I have very long arms and those are not easy movements for me. The ground is really far away.
Long range of motion.
I have struggled to get those. So I was super proud of those. And also, I'm a person who puts on muscle relatively easily. So like, it's not like I have to work. There's people who've had to work a lot harder for those numbers than I do. But yeah, I have made a ton of progress. So I'm super proud of that.
That's so awesome. Yeah. I always like to wrap these interviews up with just asking, like, if you have any advice for somebody who is either on their fitness journey and maybe feeling a little bit discouraged, or somebody who is hesitant to start because they're not really sure, like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, what do you tell that person?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like hard to not want to like scream it at people sometimes. Like you're talking to a friend and they're like, I'm on a diet and I eat rice cakes and I go to the gym 7 days a week, and they did nothing like a day before, and it's like
I think we all know that person.
Like, the best advice is to like, for me, it's been like to be consistent and do, anything like start making the small changes, like just start doing them, whatever it is, just start making those changes because time is going by either way. And so the last year would have passed either way, and I could have stayed gaining weight or I could have, made the changes and, now I can carry my kids up the stairs and I have more energy and all of those things. So like, I think just like make the changes, just do the small things, and they'll kind of snowball into bigger things.
I have one
Like
question before we
like
end.
I've been losing like a half pound a week. Like that's not sexy. Not at one point have I looked at that. Wow. I feel so good about that number.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
But it's been 50 weeks. So.
Wow.
Yeah. And you're much more likely to keep it off at that rate than the person who loses 30 pounds in a month of water weight mostly.
I just thought of something we didn't talk about real quick because you have 3 kids and you work from home. When do you fit in your workouts? Like how do you make that happen? Because I think that'd be good for people to hear.
Yeah, I've been getting shamed by morning people my entire life. So my old job was in New York. So I was like logging off a little early and doing it like while I still had a babysitter before childcare ended and at the end of my workday. Now that my team is now on the West Coast, that doesn't really work because we already have so little overlap in our like days. So I'm trying to do it in the morning before childcare or with like the first few hours I have of childcare. Yeah, so that's how I'm squeezing it in now.
Okay.
Mornings are hard for me. They always have been. My
Good for
morning
you.
is still like 8:30. It's not. I'm not getting up at 5 or anything.
Not yet.
But that's where I'm trying to fit it in. I think working from home, I do have a little flexibility there. But on the flip side, like when I went to an office, I think it also would have been easier to like swing by a gym at the end of the day, which I also like would be for me now. Like I have to like leave my house, go somewhere else and come back. I'm never like conveniently near anything.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Home gyms for the win.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's how I squeeze it in. It's definitely not always easy. And I think something again that's been really helpful working with Haley is like if I can't get because what was happening a lot was I was like getting to the end of the day and I would let things get carried away and then I'd have like 25 minutes instead of the 45 hour I was supposed to leave myself. And her advice was just to do something like get my main lift in, maybe do the finisher, like pick 1 or 2 of the other things. If I can't get it, it's still better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. That's great.
All those reps count.
Yep.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Like Blakely said, we'll have this up on our homepage by the end of the day.
It was great to meet you too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.